beautiful.
Hello, lovers of the world. This is Cinta speaking. I love Sabrina Carpenter. I started casually listening to her when she first released her viral hit song Nonsense sometime in 2023, and I actually reviewed Emails I Can't Send in this channel before. I wouldn't call myself a huge Sabrina Carpenter fan because I haven't felt inclined to listen to her previous albums before, of which she had several before releasing Emails. But what I did love was Short and Sweet, the pop album that captivated 2024 ever since her explosive single Espresso debuted at Coachella. I was scheduling my output for the next month when I realized that I had actually put in the back burner a review of Short and Sweet that I had drafted back in 2024, and I thought that it would be really good if I could post it before Carpenter's next album is going to be released, like basically by the end of this week. I wanted to throw my last 2 cents on this era before it officially ends with Man's Best Friend's release. In fact, I procrastinated this review for so long that it actually circled back to being the perfect time to post this because the Sabrina is on another promotional cycle. This will, get attention. And I can also reflect on the deluxe version bonus tracks. When this album came out, I was absolutely excited about it because I could feel that it was going to scratch the itch I had for fun and glistening pop music, and it really fulfilled exactly what I wanted. I think it really helped that I had listened to Emails I Can't Send because listening to Short and Sweet did not feel like I was starting from scratch with an artist that I barely knew, which is a feeling I really hate because I feel like I don't really know how to navigate their work effectively. But even listening to Emails I Can't Send seemed like enough context for Carpenter moving forward, and you'll actually see me refer back to that album as I continue my review. My plan for this video is to basically go through each track and kind of review why I think it's a really well-written song, and then rank them in order of how much I like them. Sabrina Carpenter has been through several cycles of public scrutiny, either on her side or on the other end. I feel like at this stage, Sabrina has mastered riding these waves of public opinion and developed a pretty decent skin and the ability to navigate celebrity culture. Most recently is, of course, the firestorm that ignited after the album cover of Man's Best Friend got released. I'll never forget this tweet that said that people were talking about Sabrina Carpenter and Iran getting bombed at the same time with the same level of intensity. People are invested in her art and the way that she presents herself, hence why I believe it's important to actually analyze what is in the music. I don't have much thoughts about the Man's Best Friend cover. I mostly have thoughts regarding the backlash, but I'm trying not to dwell too much about that in this video because one, this isn't really what the video is about. This is about Short and Sweet. And two, I really need to get this video out as soon as possible. I have to kind of be specific about what this video is not going to be. This review is not meant to comment on her entire career or make moral judgments of her as a person. Unlike so many of video commentary YouTubers out there that seem to have the guts to do that, I don't know Sabrina. I'm sure she's a lovely woman, and it doesn't feel right to create so much out of an album that hasn't even been released yet. So as you can see, I am not a professional music critic, nor am I a pop culture expert. I am someone with a YouTube channel that has less than 300 subscribers, so I act accordingly, and I hope you can treat me accordingly. First, the album starts off with Taste, a sunny pop rock track with glistening synths that are a Jack Antonoff trademark. When I heard this song, I definitely made some connections between this and Deja Vu by Olivia Rodrigo, which, if you know the lore, is kind of ironic. Both songs have the same concept of the lingering memory of your ex in the form of a sensation. Both songs have similar talking points, like the boy recycling the jokes that the ex-girl told him to the new girl. However, Sabrina's perspective is definitely more assertive and humorously vindictive instead of Olivia's impassioned and heartbroken spite. The point of view is also different. While both are jilted ex-girlfriends, Olivia is talking to the ex-boyfriend, while Sabrina is addressing the ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend as well, as if Sabrina has already accepted that the ex and the new girl have become a single unit and she is out for both of their bloods. You'll just have to taste me when he's kissing you. The next track is Please Please Please, and it is clever and unique compared to its previous chart Neighbors. It's got a country twang flavor that was very present in the B-sides of Carpenter's Emails I Can't Send that I don't think is as necessarily present in her more pop and R&B focused singles like Nonsense and Feather. Carpenter's humor and cleverness is really what sets her apart from her competition. The genius of the song lies in Carpenter's ability to tap into a very common feeling women have when dating men. The shame and embarrassment of your girls thinking you picked a loser and that reflecting on your character. Carpenter perfectly captures the frustration of not being able to control how your partner acts and how people perceive them, and by extension, how they perceive you. Hell, I know this feeling, and it is so deliciously cathartic to hear it from a catchy pop song. Please, Please, Please is very relatable for the girls listening to her, but for Carpenter, the stakes of choosing a suitable partner are higher than theirs, as it reflects on her status as a famous woman. It is also a critique on dating as a celebrity. Us non-public figures can date through trial and error to find the perfect fit for us, but famous people's romantic lives are, much narrower given their dating pool and are entwined with their reputation and therefore their livelihood. This precarity is a feeling Carpenter knows all too well, hence this song. If you don't want to cry to my music, don't make me hate you prolifically. The next song is Good Graces. It is very catchy and fun. It's the classic trope of threatening the love interest to behave and is a good follow-up to Please, Please, Please. Where Please, Please, Please is more upbeat and funny, this song is serious. Like, Carpenter is not playing around anymore. This is a threat or blackmail, given how she is the celebrity more in the limelight and therefore yields more power in how the narrative is constructed. It's a destabilization of power. Sabrina can scorch the earth that her ex lives in, but at the same time, her ex is the one living rent-free in her mind. So who's the real winner and who's the real loser in this situation? Who has more power in this breakup? No one is more amazing at turning loving into hatred. Then we've got Sharpest Tool. It's a good song about the lack of communication that situationships foster, but after hearing a song like Casual by Chapel Roan, most songs about situationships will just naturally pale in comparison. It doesn't pack the same provocative punch. The title is clearly a dig at her ex's emotional intelligence, or lack thereof, but I think it points to the greatest weapon that even the stupidest partners can wield. The sharpest tool in battle is silence. The absence of understanding cuts deep. And you know what else is a sharp tool? A knife that stabs you in the back. A betrayal that describes how overnight you too can become a bitch that you hate now. The next song is Coincidence. The simple plucky guitar reminds me of Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi, and that's a compliment. Maybe they use a similar set of chords, or there's just like a sunshiny brightness to both the songs that I really appreciate. But it's funny because Big Yellow Taxi is so completely different to what this song is. I think this is kind of a funny song because I probably would have placed this a little closer to the track Taste, because these are the two songs that paints her ex and the new girl as a unit. In this track, they're like co-conspirators that are working together to specifically undermine Sabrina Carpenter. Unlike in Taste, Carpenter places more of the blame on the ex rather than the girl. I think it is fair to feel some vitriol to the other girl, but at the end of the day, the ex is the one who is breaking promises to her. Oh wow, you just broke up again. What a coincidence. Bedcam. Oh, this is so delicious. I bet listening to the song is better than actual sex. Not that I would know. I think this song is like the peak of Sabrina's silly but sexy writing style. It's not about love. It's not declaring that they'll last forever. It's just saying something less intense but no less important. Sex is meant to be fun too. This also marks the turning point in the album where Sabrina seems to take steps towards moving on from her ex. This time she's talking about a completely different guy and kind of being infatuated with him. Before this, we've been getting bitter songs about the past love, but now we finally hit a sweet spot. How you talk so sweet when you're doing bad things. And next we have Espresso. Honestly, I have no idea what to say about Espresso. It's just, I'm working late because I'm a singer. It's a funny song, I think we can all agree. And I don't think this is the kind of song that Sabrina really wanted us to overanalyze. Like, I feel like all the other tracks, there's some kind of lyrical poeticism to it that you can kind of tease apart. But Espresso is like, that's that me Espresso. And honestly, that is the biggest compliment. The best thing you can do as a musician probably is like invent a completely new way of saying random stuff. That's Sammy Espresso. And then we get to dumb and poetic, and I'm confused. Girl, why are we sad again? I thought that we were that me espresso. Personally, I think the sudden switch to a different tone is such a mood killer when we could have just gone straight to like Juno or something. But maybe the vision is that at Carpenter's highest highs, she could easily push herself to her lowest low. I think this song is the most revealing of the X. Carpenter went to the Taylor Swift school of hyper-specific confessional writing by providing us, the listener, these very explicit details of what that X did to her in such a way that you can easily deduce that this was Shawn Mendes. I'm not tuning into what Shawn Mendes is doing. I have better things to do with my life. Like, listen to the Camila Cabello album. Why are we pitting two beautiful women against each other? Back to Dumb and Poetic. I could easily turn this song into an hour-long lecture on gender theory. The genius of inverting what it means to be a man through such simple and economic lyrics needs to be studied. Just because you talk like one doesn't make you a man. Just because you act like one doesn't make you a man. Just because you leave like one doesn't make you a man. Because Carpenter is creating a distinction of being a man and acting and talking and leaving like one. Being a man is a phrase that represents the height of idealized masculinity and all that it stands for. It means that the man is a provider, a protector, a pillar of strength that one can rely on. But talking like a man implies a condescending and patronizing tone that belittles the voice of one's partner. Acting like a man implies that the performance of masculinity does not actually equate to masculinity. Leaving like a man, highlights the decades-long truth of men abandoning families and refusing responsibility for people they have a social contract with, like wives, girlfriends, daughters. The "to leave like a man" line hits particularly hard when in Emails I Can't Send, the song that title shares with, Carpenter shared her feelings about her own father cheating on her mother and the wreck that it left behind on the family. This is the first track of that album. Like, you listen to it, like you open the album and this is the first thing that you encounter. She has guts, I'll tell her that. I will never forget that. It's crazy. And then we've got Slim Pickens, and Carpenter's biting humor comes in full force, but she sounds incredibly resigned, which is good. I think one of Sabrina's best traits is how well she can also act, because she's singing and acting at the same time, and she sounds depressed in this song. She sounds incredibly resigned to her fate and just completely dejected. She sounds like she's drunkenly confessing all of this to a bartender with a glass of whiskey and a cigarette in her hand. The lines, "I'll keep on moaning and bitching," is clearly about her complaining, but I do like the clever pun about moaning, like she's still having sex with these dumb losers, because at this point, that's all she can really do. The second to last song is Juno, and boy, she is so crazy for this, like what the fuck. No words, no notes, just so unhinged. It fits the themes of the record so well in so many ways. You know, if you really think about it, Sabrina in this record comes across as an incredibly distant lover in the love songs due to the breakup. She doesn't promise forever. She doesn't even say that she might fall in love with the man. She says, "You make me want to make you fall in love." I think it really fits into her emotional state after her situationship crumbled. The line, "You make me want to make you fall in love," implies that it's not like she wants to be in love because she's already been there and she doesn't want to be. It's more like she wants to make that other person become invested in her. And I feel like that's a different dynamic than just simply being in love with somebody. It implies that she still wants to be in control and she still wants to know kind of where things are. She's not really ready for anything serious, clearly, but she still loves sex and she is not letting her emotional vulnerability stop her from getting that. And I really appreciate that. Like, I think that's probably what this like high and low, hot and cold roller coaster is for. At the end of the day, she is still very vulnerable. Look at the track "Lie to Girls." What a unifying anthem. Girls, and maybe other femmes, or people who've been socialized as women, we've all been there. It is pretty heartbreaking for her to mention her mother again, because as I mentioned earlier, she has seen firsthand how making excuses for a man can tear you apart, but it hasn't stopped her from falling into the same trap. And it's like, the last track is truly the pinnacle of Carpenter's writing skills. Don't Smile. What to say about Don't Smile? It is the best closer ever. Just so sensual and sad. It's really common for like people who are breaking up, or even people who have fought over, or really just people who are kind of cutting people off, to try to be mature adults, to say that like we can move on, like we can be the bigger person. But I believe that deep down everybody wants other people to be miserable without them. You know what I mean? I think it's a deeply human feeling that born out of loneliness and hurt, that and it feels just as unifying to hear as it does to listen to something inane like Espresso. Heartbreak feels good with a song like this. To wrap up the thesis of the album, I think we only really need to look at the title too. The album itself is quite short with only 12 tracks, and the record lasts for 36 minutes. So it is short, but is it sweet though? I argue that there are actually more bitter songs in there than there are sweet ones. It kind of throws us off when we listen to the record. It's the same way that her romance with her ex was short, and it may have been sweet during, but it certainly wasn't sweet after. I think Short and Sweet is a great pop record. The story is strong and clear, her personality is front and center, and while she dabbles in different genres in each track, it always sounds like Sabrina Carpenter because her writing is so distinctly funny, coy, bold, seductive, and sugary sweet. The length, even though I've called it short, also feels pretty right to me. It's long enough to hit all of the nuances in the roller coaster of this crazy romance, but it's short enough that it doesn't really drag out, and there isn't really any space to put in filler in. Hence why I think the songs that got left out of the final product got left out, and we ended up hearing them in the deluxe version instead, because I think as a record, it actually feels like there's a solid beginning, middle, and end. There's, I think, a sense of closure, especially with a song like Don't Smile, that we feel at the end of listening to the project. So this is the order of the songs that I personally like. The problem is that I would give a lot of compliments to the construction of the song itself. I would praise a lot of the songwriting itself, but whether or not I listen to it on a daily basis is what I'm measuring in this ranking. So the bottom 3 songs are kind of in a similar situation in that I just love the concepts and the themes of the written text itself, but to me, I don't consider them enjoyable, revisitable listens. They are all pretty depressing in some way, or at the very least unrelatable to my personal life, and so that's why I don't really find myself reaching for them. I have never really been in a situationship or in any kind of romantic relationship, so it's really hard for me to kind of relate to most of the songs in this album. Some of the songs that are focused on yearning and heartbreak I can relate to, but the ones that are a little bit more explicitly about relationships, it's a completely foreign planet to me, and that is reflected in the ranking. So in the number 12 spot, I'm going to put Dumb and Poetic. Even though it is a perfectly written song and you could really pull it apart in so many ways, I just don't like to listen to it a lot. As I said, it is kind of just like sad, and I don't really want to be sad in that way. On the 11th place is Slim Pickens. It's catchy and the concept is strong, but I kind of ignore it in favor of other songs. And then the 10th song that I regard as the highest of these bottom 3 is Lie to Girls. It's the highest of the 3 because it is actually the song that I relate to the most out of this 3. And then from this point onwards, it's kind of just like songs I actually do think about and actively seek out from time to time. On the 9th place is Espresso. I'm sorry for being different and not like other girls, but I'm actually really tired of hearing this song, especially during 2024. I just feel like the new disco pop sound has been really played out, and I really wanted us to leave it behind in like 2022. Instead, I have been waterboarded with this sound, not necessarily just from Sabrina, but just from other people I hear all the time in K-pop for the past 3 years. Like, I think it's time to move on. That isn't to say that this isn't a great pop song. I think it's great. It's very catchy. Everybody loves to sing it. It's silly. It's got lots of great quotable lines, and much like Espresso, it is very addictive. But much like Espresso, one shouldn't drink it or consume it too much. It's not good for you. And then the 8th place is Please Please Please. This one is fun to sing. At 7th place is Taste. This is actually a very petty song for me to stomach sometimes. Sometimes I listen to it and think, come on Sabrina, I think you're better than this. It's only this high up because it is pretty catchy, and when I hear it on the radio, it's like, oh yeah, I'll jam out to it. But it's not something I actively search for. Next, I have Sharpest Tool. I love the wistfulness. At number 5, I have Coincidence. I love the bright guitar. At number 4, I have Good Graces. This is really catchy. At number 3, I have Juno. This is just completely divine. At number 2, I have Bedcam. This song is ecstasy. At number 1, I have Don't Smile. This is unparalleled. I love it so much. Moving on to the deluxe songs, I actually kind of like some of them, but I definitely can see why she took them out. I'm never really sure how these deluxe version songs work in Western pop, because how K-pop approaches like repackages is different. So I kind of assume that some of the songs here were demos that were planned alongside the songs that eventually made it to the final product, and then maybe some songs were probably written after the album was already recorded and released. So for example, 15 Minutes is definitely written after, whereas Busy Woman I know was released as a bonus CD only special song. 15 Minutes is a great song to wrap up her thoughts in a very cheeky way. Sabrina Carpenter is very self-aware of the fleeting nature of attention because she has been there before. This is definitely written after the album has dropped. The collab with Dolly Parton for Please 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 is a perfect symbolic gesture. I just don't listen to the song very much. I really appreciate what it represents. I think Sabrina Carpenter has definitely looked up to Dolly Parton in both aesthetics and like the country just vibes. And then we've got Couldn't Make It Any Harder. This could have been easily written after she and Barry split, but I think it's also very plausible that it was written way earlier because the lyrics are very generic enough that it could have just been about any of her past exes. It is basically Hopelessly Devoted to You Nachos, Reheated Nachos, right? It's a callback to this cover that she did in a previous live show, I think during the Eras tour, that to me it sounds so much like that song that I actually thought it had interpolated it, but I don't. After looking at the track list, I don't think that was necessarily the case. I don't need musical theory background to say that it sounds similar to that song, by the way. Like, it sounds great, but if I wanted to listen to Hopelessly Devoted to You, I would just listen to Hopelessly Devoted to You. And then we've got Busy Woman. I gotta say, I flat out don't really like this one that much. I am not a fan of the "if you don't want me, I'll just deem you gay" trope in lyrics. I think it's old and very played out, and it gives me the ick. Even though the song itself is very much in theme with the rest of the album, I am glad that she decided to leave it off the final track list though. Bad Reviews could have been a demo written in parallel to the rest of the short and sweet songs. I could see this fitting Shawn Mendes very well. I think his and Camila Cabello's on and off relationship is pretty well documented, so it's easy to imagine Carpenter seeing all of that on social media and seeing that as like bad reviews and all the reasons why he's bad news, but ignoring all of the red flags anyway. And then personally, out of them all, I definitely loved 15 Minutes the most. It is the only track that actually brings something new to the table. I think the other tracks were best left off, and I can see why they decided not to put it in the final track list, because it either doesn't really add anything new or there's already another counterpart that can do a better job of what it was attempting to do instead. And then to wrap this video up, I know I said that I didn't want to touch Man's Best Friend discourse with a 10-foot pole, but it would be completely remiss of me to just not skip the opportunity to predict what the album might sound like before it drops, and then we can all kind of come together and see if I was correct. And I want to do that through the analysis that I have done with Short and Sweet. So I haven't looked at the track list. I don't think I follow Sabrina Carpenter on Instagram, which I think is where she drops most of her promotions, so I have no idea like what the titles of the songs are gonna be, but judging from the album cover, the title, and Man-Child, I think she is definitely gonna lean more into the biting critique of dating culture. The biggest mistake that people have when critiquing or commenting on Sabrina Carpenter's art is that they think that they're critiquing her like feminism. I don't think that's really a productive way of analyzing a body of work unless you are a professional academic with a thorough understanding of feminist literature. I think Sabrina's leaning more into her experiences with dating, specifically how she can bridge dating as a celebrity, as a famous woman, and dating as a regular woman. And I think that's why she has such mass appeal with the girls, because she can so accurately and efficiently pinpoint the struggles that are so unique to at least femme presenting cis women, right? Like, it kind of like shows you that no matter how beautiful, thin, feminine, rich, famous you are, dating is always going to be tough. And I think there's a level of comfort in that for other people, where they may never see themselves in Sabrina Carpenter as a public figure, but there's something comforting in knowing that we're all kind of united in theory in struggle with dating. It's all entirely based off of how she has been presenting herself in this new era, because as I said in earlier, Short and Sweet's title, singles, album cover, they've all been kind of neutral. They don't really say too much about what the music is going to be. That's why people were so confused or surprised that so much of the songs in the album ended up being about the situationship with Shawn Mendes and not with Barry Keoghan as they thought they were gonna be. So it's kind of the opposite with what they're doing with Man's Best Friend, where the album cover, the single, as well as the title are all working together to really elicit a reaction from people. So in Short and Sweet era, the show was Sabrina Carpenter. Like, Sabrina Carpenter was the main attraction. Whereas in this new era, it's more like what Sabrina Carpenter will say. Like, people are actually wanting to know what her stance is, which is, I think, a really different thing to the Short and Sweet era. Like, people liked looking at Sabrina, people liked hearing Sabrina like sing, but this time I think they are really eager to listen, like actually listen to what she has to say, because they want to react and they want to respond in some way. That's a really intriguing way that her team and her planning has kind of reshaped, or at least reshifted, how people are looking at her. So it's an inherently political way of framing your work. Like, kind of, it's almost like she is deliberately weighing in on the various culture wars we're having. I am really intrigued by the narrative she has constructed for herself, and I can't wait to listen to the record. I hope you guys enjoyed my thoughts on all of this, and yeah, can't wait to hear what you guys think in the comments. Please keep it respectful. Let me know what your favorite Sabrina Carpenter song is, what you thought about my rankings, what you thought about the tracks in Short and Sweet, and maybe if you listen to this video after Man's Best Friend comes out, what do you think about my thoughts before listening to the album? If you liked my videos, feel free to subscribe. If you want to follow me on other places, all my social media links are down in the description, alongside my Ko-fi and Patreon pages if you want to support my work. Other than that, I can't wait to share my love with you again next time. I will see you soon. Bye. Speaking, I love Sabrina Carpenter. I should put some bracelets on. No, it's okay. I'll put some bracelets on.